All right, you guys, welcome. It's good to be with you here in lovely November. We're in a big week energetically. We had elections yesterday, but we also had a full moon, lunar eclipse or something like that, and a few spiritual convergences. And then we have the 11/11 portal coming up on Friday, and I'm doing a special meditation for that. I just think it's important to note all of those, right? And really look at where are we within the within this bigger picture of spirit or of numerology or of lunar cycles. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big lunar cycle person. I cannot keep track of them for the life of me. However, whenever I see a thing coming through my email, I'm like, okay, let's ride that wave. And I think it's fine to be that way in all of these spiritual perspectives and astrological, numerological things. Like anything can be an excuse to go inward and to ride that wave of whatever people are recommending. So I don't take it too seriously because I know that we can connect into our I am presence on any given day, for any whatever reason we desire. It doesn't have to be January 1st for us to launch our manifestations out into the world. And I think that's super important because people become really dependent on, oh, I saw 11/11. That means blah, blah. Like, yeah, that's possible, but you can make your 11/11 at any time of the day by sparking your spirit and really anchoring your intention into that moment. And I want to kind of just share that we can move with the portals, and I believe they are actually portals, and every single day we can become our own portal. Okay, so based on that, today's topic was doshic balancing. And as we go into late fall, early winter, it's vata season. Okay, so what does it mean that it's vata season? Well, think of it, it's getting cold and windy, right? So when we have that late fall, early winter, our bodies start to contract, it becomes darker and it becomes windier. And that is vata season. So some people come alive in that late fall, early winter, right? Often it will be someone with pitta or fire in their constitution. They'll be, ooh, I can come out now. I'm not overheating from the summer. But for those of us with air in our constitution, with a vata dosha or a vata imbalance rather, it can be really imbalancing for us. People can find themselves needing the sun for their own inner fire and inner light. And this is a condition, this is the human condition, right? We're dependent on the outside to bring us our inner whatever. Does that make sense? So, I mean, there's just a normal piece of this, which is that, like, when we're cold, we reach for heat. When we're hot, we have a cool glass of water. Our body knows how to balance the energetics within our bodies. Our intuitive senses usually can do that for us. However, we get attached. We get attached to the sun to bring the light. Or we get attached to the cheese on top of the food, or we get attached to that coffee in the morning, and we stop listening to what our body is clearly saying to us. So if we can start by inviting you into listening to those inner signals, because I can give you a list of the things to do and not do, and what to eat, what not to eat, what herbs to take, which actually I can't because that's not my area of expertise. But really, what I want to do is invite you in to really listen to what your body is asking for. With a seasonal change, your whole process may change. You might need to sesame oil your body and take more Epsom salt baths. You may need to move to soups or to like khicheris. Why? Well, because vata doesn't have strong digestion. And if your vata is getting imbalanced, then you're going to need foods that are easier to digest, warming foods, root vegetables, grounding. So for late fall and early winter, we often do this, right? You see people making the applesauce or putting on some soups or getting a nice heavier, warmer dish. That's our nature, right? We know this. And as it gets darker, we light more candles and we burn a fire. Why? Because we can get the fire element within our homes. We can also burn within by doing breath of fire. We can also build heat within our bodies. So if we're building heat, we always look to the external to balance us. This is our issue, right? Well, if my husband would just pay more attention to me, then I'll feel loved. Well, if the sun would just shine, then I'll feel happy. But our work is to balance ourselves from within. Well, how do I show that love to myself? How do I build that fire within my body so I'm not depending on it outside of my body? How do I rest during vata hour? So 2 to 6 a.m. and 2 to 6 p.m. are when vata hour is the vata time of day. So you'll hear people say, I have 3 a.m. insomnia, vata imbalance. And vata imbalance during vata season could get worse. Or I crash in the late afternoon, vata hour. So what does vata need in the late afternoon? To close their eyes, get silence, be by themselves, and just nap for 20 minutes. That's what vata needs. But society says I should be driving my kids around and getting her to kinder music and getting them to gymnastics. And our society is not built for that type of self-intuition and self-care. And that's why it's our job to build it around our self-care. Isn't that selfish, Kim? It's self-full. You know, if mama ain't happy, no one's happy. If mama ain't grounded, nobody's nervous system's going to be grounded. And that's true for me. And I'm sure it's true for many of you. So I had this really interesting thing happen. I'm going through premenopause. I think I've already been here for about 6 years already. I'm 47 years old. And I was doing these Chinese herbs to help flush my body and my lymph and all this, because I have chronic Bartonella, which is a Lyme co-infection. And I can keep it at bay through my spiritual practice and my clean diet and everything. But a year ago, I let a little bit of dairy back into my life. I'm gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free. And I was like, you know what? I just want to enjoy food a little bit more. But I have vata digestion. So here we are during vata season. And I was praying. I was saying, God, show me what I need to eat. I don't know anymore. Like, I'm not feeling great. Show me what I need to eat. My body's changing. Speak to me. The Chinese medicine doctor said, I loved that he said it. He's like, there is no good or bad food for you. It's just that your body is always changing, and what it's responding to, it will respond to foods differently. It's the body that's changing. There's no good or bad foods. And I thought that was so wise. So one day I wake up and I've got this inflammatory rash all over my face. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? And I go back to the Chinese herb guy. I'm like, you changed my herbs and now I have this inflammation on my face. I'm too vain for inflammation on my face. And so he's like, oh, I changed an herb, blah, 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 blah. There's probably heat that got stuck and your bladder meridian's not whatever. And I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on, but we need to clear this. And then my intuition, as I went to meditate on it, my intuition was, why don't you see if you could take dairy out, what happens? And within a week, the inflammation stopped. And I'm like, damn it. I liked having cheese every once in a while. No. So I went back and forth and I watched myself going, like, really doing a cost benefit analysis. Okay, the cost of this cheese versus the benefit of the cheese. The benefit of the cheese was my attachment. And this is what happens because we have attachments to certain things outside of us to make us feel pleasure. or to make us feel good. It's these attachments that keep us from listening to what our body is telling us to do and that inner guidance. So whenever I have an attachment, and I have a lot of food attachments, food's my subject matter in this lifetime. Food and body are my subject matter in this lifetime. Some people, it's their romantic relationship or their finances or their whatever. Food and body is where my work always is. So I spent a couple of weeks observing myself, not putting any rules in place, just observing how hard it was for me to listen to my body on this one point. Even though I went 10 years without dairy, I just had it in like the last year. But I had gotten a little addicted to it, like thinking about Saturday, how I was going to have that pizza. So I watched myself and I watched the addictive pattern and I watched the attachment until I could compassionately work with myself on it. So vata pitta is we make a lot of rules and then we do drastic things. So I'm like, I'm not going to be drastic. I'm going to be loving in this change. And soon I was able to take it out. And then 2 weeks later, I was making gluten-free tortellini for my daughter and I popped one in my mouth and I rash came back and it was like, oh, okay, right. Yeah, sorry. No wiggle room here. Got it. I have a client and the client had this series of days where every time she would make the coffee pot would burst, or the coffee pot broke, and then she went to go get coffee down the road and she came in and she tripped and the coffee went everywhere. And then the third day there was a coffee incident and she couldn't get her coffee. And she said to me, I think my guides are like literally popping the coffee out of my hand every time I put coffee in my hand. And then 2 days later, she said something flippant like, oh, after I have my coffee. And I'm like, what? You're still having coffee after your guides told you not to have the coffee? It was so funny. She's like, yeah. I'm like, why? I need my coffee. Okay, well, what about yerba mate? I have like a French press yerba mate. It's a nice routine. What about that? So it took a week for us to help work her addiction and her attachment and just switch it to a different caffeine source to see if her guides were going to flop that out of her hands. I have lots of examples of these things. And whether your attachment is someone else can make me cozy, or someone else can make me feel worthy, or a food can make me feel the comfort I need to feel. Whatever the attachments are, I encourage you to really listen for what your body or your guides are saying to you, because you and only you will intuitively know what your body is saying, yay or nay. I've never been I think it's kinesiology, I've never energy tested stuff. I mean, I know how to do it. Some people do it with the fingers. I could sit and do it with my herbs. Like I either go toward the herbs or away from the herbs. If you ever have a question about whether something is going to work for your field, you can just take the food, put it right here, close your eyes and see if your body pushes back or goes toward it. Because your energy field knows what resonates and what doesn't. So what if this is true? But what if many of us are like, la, 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 la. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know. I'd rather be in the dark. What if every moment you were listening, is this in my highest and greatest good? Is doing this activity? Is going to the gym in my highest and greatest good? Or do I need to ground? Is this breath work in my highest and greatest good? Just because it was prescribed doesn't mean my body needs that breath work. Only my body can know. How often do you go to class and say, hey, what herbs should I take? What food should I eat? Tell me, tell me, tell me. It's all inside. Absolutely everything you need to know about what's best within you. The question is, are we able to listen? I know a guy who had a huge spiritual awakening because he started energy testing every food that he came near, like, or every activity. And he started just doing like this thing. I always found it. I used to be in spiritual communities where you'd see people doing the muscle testing all the time. And I'd be like, oh, there they go. But he just muscle tested everything. And what it did was it hooked up his spiritual connection so much that he was listening to his guides in every moment of every day. He was letting his guidance come straight from higher consciousness in every moment. And so while he was trying to figure out foods and such, it was in this process that he really hooked himself so deeply to his higher consciousness. He had this huge spiritual awakening and wrote a book about it. So what if that was our practice? What if that's what we were doing every day, was tapping in to, does this serve me? There was a point when I was very ill. My third daughter had a genetic metabolic disorder where if she were to go without food, she would die. And so we had to wake her up every 2 hours for the first 2 years of her life to feed her, to make sure she got through the night. Needless to say, I was severely vata imbalanced and just completely depleted. And there was a point there where everything, like going to the grocery store or talking to this friend, I had to do a cost benefit analysis on everything. Am I going to get a return on investment of energy, or is this going to drain me? And if the answer was no, I wasn't going to get a surplus at the end of this activity, I didn't do it. Because I was in survival. I was on a negative gas tank every day. And what that wired into my body was this beautiful self-preservation. Does this nourish me? Or is this an obligation? Or is this a thing that my mind has told me I should do, or I should be as a mother, or I should perform? And if I'm shoulding all over myself, then what does that do in terms of my connection to my soul? What does that do in terms of my connection to my inner self? It basically says, I don't care what you need. So what if every time we override ourselves, that's the message, we go into separation from self? What if every time we're depleted and we do the thing because we feel like we should, instead of asking the divine for assistance to give me the carpool, give me the easier way, show me how this can be done without hurting or depleting myself? Because there is a whole army of divine assistants waiting for us to ask for help, but they cannot intervene in our day-to-day life unless we ask for help, because free will. So we sit there starving or helpless or exhausted going, oh, why isn't anyone helping me? But we have to actually feel worthy enough to ask either our people or source, both. Because as soon as I started looking up for help and saying, show me how I can be a good mother and preserve myself, then I was given the wisdom that at 4 p.m. every day, we go into quiet time in my home. My kids are 13, 15, and 18. And because when they were young, I was like, dude, if I don't lay down, I'm going to be a monster, and I don't want to be a monster. And so I was able to lay down and be a good mom for the rest of the night, which means I wasn't grumpy. And now to this day, they know how to do that for themselves. They come home for an hour between plans so they can ground and rest. What if this is the world we start creating because we have the courage to take care of ourselves? I went, if you look in the yoga farm community, I went on a family trip to a dude ranch, and which is like totally not my scene, being around people and having structured activities. And when I went, I brought my griddle and I brought some of my own eggs and I brought my food. And everyone would go to breakfast and I would do my yoga and meditation. I would meet them all up for lunch. I would have some quality time with everybody. Then I would go take care of myself in the afternoon. And I found a rhythm at that dude ranch such that everybody else was asking me, what are you doing? Great. Wow, you're taking care of yourself? Wow, I'm going to take care of myself. When my fear was everyone's going to think I'm isolating or I'm being rude. No. When we choose to take care of ourselves and we own it, we ripple that out into the world and self-care becomes cool. So we're going to take you into a 10-minute visualization right now, just to connect with your body so you can get your messages and reestablish that inner connection. So if you will, close your eyes and come into your breath and take your breath into your upper belly. Nice deep breath here. With a slow exhale through the mouth. Good. Another deep breath into your upper belly. Exhaling slowly through your mouth. One more like that, breathing into your upper belly. Take the breath into your back body, into your ribs, and slowly exhale through the mouth. If you will, place your hand on your heart now. And as you begin to feel your body, just notice what sensations living in your body, whether it's like tightness or pain, or whether it's energetic sensation, palpitations. And if you will, begin to visualize the violet consuming flame coming into that space. Breathing it in. Into the part of your body that you intuitively know needs a little light. Using your breath and your intention to draw that violet flame in. I find that the violet flame reveals truth. It helps uncover that which we weren't able to hear or see. So as you begin to draw the violet flame into your body, just let your mind pose the question to your soul. What am I needing most right now? What will balance me in this moment? Drawing the violet flame into your body, breathing in, what will balance me now? What does my body need in this moment? Good. You may not get an answer, but what's happening is your soul or your inner being is feeling like you care about it. Her, them, him. So keep gazing straight into your heart. What can I do for you, dear? What do you need, my love? As you breathe and you draw the prana into your body, just allowing yourself to give yourself that care that compassion. Holding your attention to yourself. Giving yourself time for your soul to reveal to you, for your guides to reveal to you what it is you may be doing to throw yourself out of balance. Show me what I haven't been able to see. Reveal to me what's in my highest good. Continue to breathe into your body, keeping your mind and energy focused on the questions. What do I need? Show me how I may be throwing myself off. Reveal to me what's in my highest good. Help me to assimilate that easily, gracefully, effortlessly. Just feel what it feels like for you to gaze inward and to pose a question, maybe not getting an immediate answer that your mind feels satisfied, but just feel what it feels like to receive the question from yourself, to receive that care. Even though you may not have gotten the answers that your mental body wants to quote unquote know, allow yourself to know that seeds have been planted because you asked. You've just gone up to the first drive-up window at your fast food restaurant. You put your order in, you put your question in. You have to wait around long enough for it to be delivered to you in the second window. What that means is coming back to your heart with these questions, with this care, listening, and starting to feel what it feels like to receive care from yourself. So if you will, commit to that. Even if you're just walking around your house or doing the dishes, taking one breath, asking yourself, what do I need right now? What do you need, love? And if you will, surround yourself with the violet consuming flame. Just feel the violet flame anchor in this self-care consciousness. The consciousness that's always evaluating your highest good. And here's what you can trust when you honor your highest good. The violet flame works in the highest good of everyone involved. So if you say no, because the light has guided you into your no, what you can trust is even if it looks like the outer world is railing up against your no, that no is going to be of the highest good for every single person involved. The violet flame only creates win-win-win situations. It is always working for the highest good of everyone. This is the only way the divine can work, because we are all connected. We are all of that same ocean, a drop from the same ocean. So when I went to the Dude Ranch and took care of myself, I emitted the consciousness of self-care and actually served in my care of myself. So if you can anchor that in right now, when I serve myself, I serve humanity. I serve my family. I serve my workplace. And as you draw the violet flame into that statement, you can seal it by saying, and so it is, and so it is done, and so it is done.